Is the bubble about to pop? Stay tuned to find out. Hey, thanks for tuning back in, everybody. Today is the market update video, and I want to talk a little bit about the impending recession and how that may affect housing. But before I get into it, Thanksgiving's right around the corner, and this is a special time of year where a lot of us get to take time out of our busy schedules to enjoy time with family or celebrate any holidays that you may be planning on celebrating. So I want to wish everybody a happy holiday season, and whatever you're doing, enjoy it, have a lot of fun, and definitely a lot of laughs. So back to the market update. Now, I follow the Orange County Housing Report that's created by Stephen Thomas, and I have a couple reports that I subscribe to, but Stephen Thomas's report on housing is the one that I find to be the most accurate and the most relevant in terms of our local market. Now, when I say local market, I'm talking about Orange County. So it's important to remember that Orange County encompasses many cities, dozens of cities. So what's going on in San Clemente may not be what's going on in Anaheim, and what's going on in Costa Mesa may not be what's going on in Yorba Linda. So if you're thinking about buying or selling a property, it's important to understand there's no one-size-fits-all approach. And it's always important to talk to a professional about your specific area, your specific needs, your specific wants to really make sure that whatever you're trying to accomplish is actually something that's realistic and doable. Okay, now let's jump right into the data because I want to talk to you about what's going on in terms of the data, and then I want to offer you my opinion on what this data means to you. So, are we in a bubble? That's the big question, right? Everyone's talking about a recession. Everyone's talking about the market going down. In fact, so many of our buyers right now are saying, well, I'll just wait until next year and buy a property for a much better price. But that may not necessarily be the case. So let's talk about some data. In 2007, the start of the housing crisis, or what many people call the Great Recession, there were over 15,000 homes available for sale, and the average days on market was 451 days. I sold real estate in 2007. I just started my career, but wow, 451 days to be on the market sounds horrible. Fast forward to 2019, we have 6,616 listings for sale as of today, and the average days on market's 86. So when we're comparing this year, the start of the recession versus 2007, the start of the last recession, you can already see that the information is just not lining up. If we were going to have a bubble pop and the market was going to crash, the days on market would be much higher. The number of homes for sale would be much higher. We're just not seeing that. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that obtaining financing today is so much more difficult than it was in 2007. Back in 2007, we had 100% financing, we had negative amortization loans, we had 0% down, we had no income, no asset verification, bank statements only, you name it, they gave it. If you wanted to borrow money and you had a heartbeat, they lent you money. In fact, I've actually read stories about banks lending money to dogs because that's what was filled out on the application. The qualifying criteria was so low, almost non-existent, that anybody could borrow money. And nowadays, it's not like that at all. If you've gotten a loan recently and you've bought a home or you've refinanced recently, you know that they're asking for every single piece of documentation that relates to your financial situation. And they make sure that all their I's are dotted and all their T's are crossed because they want to make sure that if you borrow this money, that you legitimately have a way of paying them back. And on top of that, right now, over 50% of homeowners have a good amount of equity in their property, and 13% of homeowners own their home outright. So 63% of homeowners are very financially stable. So let's just say the market crashes. We're not going to see what we saw in 2008, 9, 10, and 11, and 12 because buyers, homeowners in general, have a lot more skin in the game. They're not just going to walk away from a property because the property values are falling. They're going to find a way to salvage and keep their property and continue to stay there so that they can enjoy their quality of life and watch their home appreciate over time. So the housing market may not be as hot as it is. The housing market today may not be as hot as it was in 2012 to 2017. But that doesn't mean we're in a bubble. In fact, all the information I just shared with you shows you that we're not seeing what we saw in 2007. And the crazy thing is there was a poll done by Keeping Current Matters, which is another company I subscribe to their information. They do more of a national market update. 57% of consumers in general believe that the recession this year and the housing crisis that it creates is going to be as bad or worse than 2007 and 2008. And we're just not we're not seeing the data for that. So for me, this is all just a big story that you're reading in the newspapers, online, on social media. It's a story that's buzzing around, but there's no concrete evidence that supports it. So it's important to keep in mind as you're thinking about whether or not now is a time to buy or sell. Now, in terms of inventory, I've talked about this in the past, right? The more homes are available, the more options there are for buyers, the lower the demand falls. If there is 10 homes in a neighborhood, you have a lot of choices. You can negotiate a better price, but if there's only one home in the neighborhood you want, you're probably going to have less ability to negotiate a better price. So there's going to be a higher demand for that one home. This year, there's less homes on the market for sale than the same time last year. So there's actually more demand for properties in Orange County now versus last year. And last year was essentially the peak of the market for most areas. So the demand is still high. But here's where things get complicated. You're watching the news, you're talking to your friends, you're on social media, and what is everybody talking about? Everyone's talking about the bubble popping. Everyone's talking about the impending recession, and that creates fear. And fear creates doubt, and many buyers are doubtful right now. And doubt creates uncertainty, and ultimately uncertainty will create paralysis. And paralysis is when you're so afraid of what's going to happen that you do absolutely nothing. Buying or selling a house, there's always a certain amount of risk involved, but these are calculated risks. Again, if you talk to a real estate professional, if you talk to your CPA, if you talk to a lender, and you get the cold hard facts, you can find a way to relate it to your situation, and then you can find a way to determine whether or not that's the right move. What a lot of people are doing right now is they're not even looking at their situation. They're focusing on what the news is telling them. They're focusing on what their friends are telling them. They're focusing on what social media is telling them. And then they're just going, well, it's a bad time to buy. It's a bad time to sell. I'm just not going to do anything. What they should be doing is figuring out their situation first and then finding out how their situation relates to the market, not the other way around. So, my opinion, I don't see any bubble, and I don't see any bubble popping. There's no conclusive evidence that there's a bubble happening, and there's no guarantee that a recession equals a housing crisis. In fact, in the last 5 recessions, home prices went up 3 out of those last 5, and we expect the same to happen this time around. Again, this is all a story that we're telling ourselves, and the story is magnifying to a point where it's becoming reality. And it's affecting a lot of people's lives and things that they want to do and goals that they've set for themselves, because rather than looking at their situation and finding a way to make it work, they're not doing anything because they're just saying, well, it's a bad time to sell. It's a bad time to buy. I'm not even going to look into the situation. I'll just wait a couple years and see how this plays out. Now, unfortunately, what's going to happen for many people is in a year or two, the rates are going to go up, the prices may go up, and then all of a sudden, they don't even qualify or come close to qualifying for the house that they thought they were going to buy because the prices never got to the point that they thought they were going to get to. Or the rates went up so high that their monthly payment is too high that they don't qualify for it. So one of my mentors told me a long time ago, the best time to buy a house is when you can afford it. So find out if you can afford it and then figure out if it's the right time. And if it's not, put a plan together for the right time, but don't just sit back and make decisions based on what you're seeing or what you're hearing. Now, as a seller, you've got to do the same thing. You have to figure out, is this the right time to sell for me? Not necessarily timing the market, but really, why am I selling? What is the intention behind it? And how can I maximize the sale of my home? So these are the questions you want to ask yourself. Now, in closing, every micro market is different. Like I said, South County is different than North County. East County is different than West County. Many people are saying the interest rates are going to stay stable. Some are saying they're going to go up. Some are saying they're going to go down. Many people are saying inventory is high. Some are saying it's low. Many people are saying the prices are going to continue to rise. Some are saying it's going to drop. There is so much confusion out there that it's creating paralysis for a lot of people. And as one of the top real estate agents in the county, it's my job to control the narrative and actually give you news that's relevant and real, not just something to sell ads or sell stories. So the best advice I could give you is that whether you're a buyer or a seller, is to talk to a real estate professional, understand your situation, talk to a lender, understand your situation, talk to your CPA, understand your situation, have open communication with any people that you're working on buying or selling your home with so everybody's on the same page. If you're in the Orange County area and you want to pick my brain, you have a simple question to ask me, you're interested in selling, you're interested in buying, we want to work with you. The more people that I can come across to help, the more we can help. And if you have any questions at all that are going to help create more certainty for you, we want to be the team to help you in that situation. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video on social media, give me a thumbs up, give me some social media love, leave a comment or a question. I'd love to engage with you. As I said before, if you have a specific question, whether it's buying or selling, you can reach out to me. There's no strings attached. There's no commitment. There's no obligation. There's no fees. I just want to be a resource for you. The goal would be to earn your future business over time as we develop a credible relationship. If you ever have any video ideas you ever want me to expand on in the future, send those my way. Until then, happy selling.